ito daw ang tinatawag na warm moon kasi according to some myth, no, ito ay sa sobrang init daw ng lupa, lumalabas daw yung mga, how do you say this, mga worms, no, during that season, sa gabi, kahit na gabi na daw, mainit pa rin daw ang klima, kaya lumalabas din ang mga tinauod, yung mga worms, kaya nga tinatawag tong warm moon. Or other myth, sabi naman daw, ito daw ay lumalabas daw sa mga bark of a trees during that climate din pa rin na mainit yung panahon, kaya lumalabas itong tinatawag natin na warm moon. The next, ang next appearance nito would be on April. So tingnan natin, napakaganda. It's glittering at night at nagsisilbing siyang gabay natin sa gabi. Early morning, the time now is 4:30 in the morning here in my city of Cebu. I am in Plaza Independencia, about to commence my early morning run, at I just can't get a glance or stare at this very beautiful warm, it's not warm, warm. Who would not recognize Colon Street? Colon Street, known also as Parian, is the oldest street in the Philippines. It was built by the Spaniards who arrived in Cebu in 1565 on the fleet composed of the vessels of San Pedro, San Pablo, and San Juan under the command of Miguel Lopez de Legazpi. It is the only street in the country recognized as a national historical landmark. What may be distinct, as Muharis writes, is Spanish colonial urbanism and the deliberate planning of the settlement. There are 3 markers. There is also a marker in Colon Street. The street was also known as Calle del Parian before. It was named after Christopher Columbus and Cristobal Colon. Colon Street is now located in Hacozalim Street to the Mabini dead end. It is now what we call the downtown Colon, where you can see old business establishment that has been deteriorated, and I'm so very lucky as well that is a few meters away from my main residence. That is Colon Street, known as the oldest street in the Philippines. The heritage of CEBU Monument, also known as Parian Monument, is a representation and illustration of sculptures depicting significant and symbolic events in the history of Cebu, back from the time of Raja Humabon to the recent beatification of CEBUANO martyr Pedro Calungsod. The monument was built by the local artist Eduardo Castrillo. Its construction started in July of 1997. He and the late Senator Marcelo Fernan funded the construction together with other donations from private individuals and organizations. The construction was finished and inaugurated on December 8, year 2000. The scenes illustrated in the monuments are the conversion of Raja Humabon and his followers to Christianity, the local revolution against the Spanish rule, a Roman Catholic Mass, and the fateful fight on April 21, 1521 in the island of Mactan, where native chieftain Lapu-Lapu killed Ferdinand Magellan. The structures carved in the monument includes Basilica del Santo Nino, Cebu Metropolitan Cathedral, the St. John the Baptist Church, Magellans Cross, a Spanish galleon, statues of Serios Mena Sr. and Blessed Pedro Calungsod. Your visit in Cebu City, the Queen City of the South, would not be complete without visiting the iconic Magellans Cross or the Cross of Magellan. This is the very popular landmark here in Cebu City. In fact, in most of the logos, it features the Magellans Cross because it is the birth of Christianity way back in March of 1521. Ferdinand's Catholic legacy, a large wooden cross, is housed in a stone rotunda built in 1841. That stone rotunda that you see now fronting Santo Nino Church was built in 1841. The crucifix on show is said to contain the remnants from the Cross of Magellan planted on the shores of Cebu in 1521. A painting on the ceiling of the rotunda shows Magellan erecting the cross. Actually, the locals are doing all the work on Magellan's just standing around. After Santo Nino, this is the most venerated religious relics in Cebu. Yes, indeed. This Magellans Cross or the Chapel of Magellan after Santo Nino is the most venerated. Look at those candles because it is the most venerated religious relic in Cebu. The crucifix on the show is said to contain the remnants from the Cross of Magellan because many people could not help hunt for souvenir items, so they chipped all those wooden cross, so it was encased on this new cross erected, and that cross, the original cross, is encased on that cross. A painting on the ceiling of the rotunda shows Magellans erecting the cross. In the heart of uptown Cebu City is a rotunda park with picturesque fountain in the center. This is the famous Fuente Osmeña Circle, which is a focal landmark for the Queen City of the South. Fuente Osmeña, or literally Osmeña Fountain, was named after President Sergio Osmeña, the patriarch of one of Cebu's most prominent political families, served as the fourth president of the Philippines. Considering his contributions to society, he is considered as a favorite son of the province. The rotunda, which principally pictures the Osmeña Fountain, is said to have been built during the inauguration of the city's water system. Over the years, it has evolved from simply an exhibition of CEBUANO promise to serve a variety of more practical purposes. The park surrounding the Rizal spout has become the venue for an assortment of events. If you happen to be in the area in the early hours of the day, you will see a number of joggers just like me, where I spend most of my early morning run on this rotunda. At night, the park transforms into a romantic setting where couples can enjoy the solitary air and delightful lights as they playfully illuminate the ecstatic jets of water. Cultural presentations or social events and even political gatherings are also held in the park. The Fuente Osmeña is hard to miss considering its strategic location and accessibility. It is but apt to say that the soul of Cebu City resides its heart in Fuente Osmeña. The province of Cebu is the richest province in the Philippines. It is also the oldest province in the Philippines, aside from being the richest. The Cebu Provincial Capitol Building is the seat of the government of the province of Cebu. The Capitol houses the offices of the governor, the Legislative Hall of the Provincial Board, and other provincial and national government offices. It is located in Osmeña Boulevard at the corner of Ikaw Street. The provincial government started the construction of the Capitol building in 1938. The Capitol building is styled after the neo-classical style of architecture that was the typical style of public buildings in the Philippines during the American colonial era. The exterior of the Capitol has white paint all over and is Attention-getting part is the massive white dome in the center and the concave facade of the building. The white dome somehow reminds me of the dome of the United States Capitol building in Washington, D.C. Below the concave facade is the main entrance with a green color marble background and the large doors. And you will never miss this Capitol building because it is predominantly constructed and located at the very center of uptown Cebu. Rizal Memorial Library and Museum is a 3-story building that serves as a fount of knowledge among education-conscious Cebuanos. Today, it is a home to the Cebu City Public Library and Information. It was organized and opened to the public on April 13, 1919 by Mr. Guillermo Reston, the chief librarian from the Iloilo branch. The province of Cebu took charge of the initial collections and other maintenance and operating expenses. When the Second World War broke out, the library was closed. The building was utilized as the headquarters by the Japanese. At present, the Cebu City Public Library occupies only a ground floor on the Rizal Memorial Library and Museum, which is the repository of books and magazines that depicts the life and history not only of the Cebuanos but also entire island, because it has the complete collections of historical books and magazines and compilations of history of the Philippines. My beloved alma mater, where I finished my bachelor's degree in psychology in 1986. University of San Carlos, established at the instance of Bishop Mateo Joaquin Rubio de Arevalo, a Seminario de San Carlos at the former site of Colegio San Ildefonso of the Jesuits in 1779, became Seminario Conciliar of the San Carlos in 1865, administered by the Vicentenias and renamed Seminario Colegio de San Carlos in 1867. Serios Mena, 4th President of the Philippines, and one of the first graduates conferred bachelor's degree in 1894. Formed a corporation under Director Jacinto Villalane in 1911. Separated from the seminary in 1922. Transferred to the site in 1930. Placed in the Society of the Divine Word, or SVD, in 1935. Reopened after the Second World War in 1945. Became university in 1948 from Amante Castillo, first Filipino president in 1970. Santo Nino Church is one of those religious and historical structures in the province of Cebu that is top in every visitor's list. That's exactly because it is not only a religious treasure and a landmark, but also it is located where other landmarks can be found, such as the famous Magellans Cross and Fort San Pedro. In the 16th century, Cebu Menor Basilica of the Santo Nino, or also known as Basilica Minor del Santo Nino, was founded by Andres de Ordaneta, an Augustinian priest, on April 28, 1565, considered now as the oldest church in the Philippines. It was built on the exact spot where the image of Santo Nino, a sculptor of the Holy Child, Jesus was found by Spanish explorers in 1565. It was said that the image was preserved in a burned wooden box that was left behind by Magellan during his expedition in 1521. During the 4th centenary of the Christianization of the Philippines, Pope John Paul VI elevated Santo Niño de Cebu rank into a minor basilica. To this day, the basilica remains under the care of the Order of the Agustin. Many people, especially the devotees of Santo Nino de Cebu, come to Cebu and visit the Santo Nino, considered to be the oldest church in the Philippines, where the original image of Santo Nino de Cebu can be found. It was an image that was given by Magellan to the Dato, Humabon, and the Queen Juana, the reigning leaders of the island of Cebu in 1521, and opening for the Christianization of all the Filipinos, were become the first Christian, making Cebu as the birthplace of Christianity in the Philippines. So devotees would always visit Santo Nino de Cebu, especially the Basilica, and their vacation and visit to Cebu would not be complete if they cannot visit Basilica Minori Santo Nino, the old